What's going on, guys? Pete Nova here with the Face Off Sports Network. Today, I am back with a rookie mock draft, super flex, just 4 rounds. We have a full deck here. 12 owners drafting, no CPUs. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see exactly what the draft looks like. A couple guys in here in the chat as well. Give me 1 second, pulling it up right now. And yeah, so we should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and start the draft now. And we are live. So we have the combine this week, guys. A lot going on. Some players not expected to actually, perform at the combine, which is not surprising. To start this off, we have Ashton Genty off the board, who, if you haven't been paying attention, Genty will not be training and participating in the actual physical events, but he will be going there to meet with coaches, and get measurements, and all that good stuff. And so, I mean, as the number one running back in this class, it's not super surprising. He goes off the board at 1. Then you have Cam Ward here at 2, McMillan at 3, Omarion Hampton at 4. So I figure most drafts, Genty, Cam Ward, and McMillan are going to be your first 3 guys that go off the board. And pretty much that's the pretty much the standard. Omarion Hampton's going to be one of those where we're not exactly sure which next player. In this case, it is Hampton, but it's going to be, is Hampton going to be the number 2 running back drafted? Is it going to be Trevion Henderson? So Hampton goes off the board here. Now I'm on the clock. Warren goes after. Warren will not be participating in this actual combine. Now, for me, this becomes between Ibuka and Trevion Henderson. Ibuka is one of the most NFL ready players in this draft. The ceiling is not as high. Now, Trevion Henderson's one of my favorite running backs as well. I feel like if I'm swinging for upside, I'm going to go with Trevion Henderson here. In my opinion, Ibuka or Sanders should likely go in the next spot here at 107. Reason being with Sanders is just quarterbacks carry so much more value, especially in a super flex dynasty. I took Trevion Henderson over Ibuka, which is tough for me. I'll probably, have some variance depending on my teams, and I'll probably mismatch in real drafts trying to get, shares of both players. But the thing with Trevion Henderson is he provides like home run hitting ability. He's a guy that, can take a ball and take it 90 yards for a touchdown. So, that's pretty exciting with him as well. I do got to pause the draft here and just make sure that I don't have it on snake. So I just changed that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Awesome. And let me make sure I let everybody know. I already had this on snake. Just fixed. But yeah, so right now, the reason I have Henderson is just because I'm swinging for upside, right? It's going to depend on your teams, right? If you want a stability piece like Ibuka, who's going to come in and he's going to be a guy that I don't worry about Ibuka landing spot wise. I feel like he's going to go somewhere and it's not going to matter as much where he goes, right? I feel like he's going to be able to be successful wherever he goes. Now, he may have more upside in some places, but overall, I'm not super concerned. Ibuka goes after me and then Sanders, which is kind of what we expected. I said Sanders or Ibuka would go there in the next 2 spots here. We have a couple people in the chat. Jamie said, any more spots? Jamie, no. We're going to do a couple more of these, though. Honestly, I'll probably do another one. I think we're doing one on Saturday. We're going to do one on Saturday once the combine rolls through. And Blue said, can I ask some dynasty questions? Blue, I'll answer you at the end of the here. Well, actually, you know what? I'll pull it up anyway here. Said Josh Allen, James Cook, or Jordan Love, 101, 26 first, 27, and early second. To be honest, like I have Josh Allen 2, maybe even 3 tiers ahead of Love. I mean, it depends on what kind of shape your team is in, to be honest with you. If you need to retool, I'm fine going with the picks. But if you're in good shape and you're a contender, give me Josh Allen and James Cook, though it's a pretty good haul you're getting there. Now, Caleb Johnson goes out of Iowa, running back, and then you have Quinshon Judkins. Quinshon Judkins is an interesting player. I have Quinshon Judkins. I have my sheet here with some players, but I want to say I have Judkins. I definitely have Judkins behind Caleb Johnson and Hampton and all these running backs. He's going to be a guy that, I don't know, for me, I'm just not super high on Quinshon Judkins, to be honest with you. I have Quinshon Judkins right now as my RB7. Maybe I'm a little too low on him, but I don't know. With him, I just don't see that home run hitting potential. Travis Hunter goes here at 11, and I know that I've read some interesting reports. Some teams see him as a wide receiver, some teams see him as a cornerback. That is going to be a guy that, is one reason why I like to hold off on drafting rookie drafts until after the NFL draft. Some people do it before. To me, I'd rather not have that crapshoot. We should have some clarity on Travis Hunter, hopefully, by the time the draft happens. Luther Burton goes at the end here, and he is a sneaky pick, in my opinion. Luther Burton, or Burden, sorry, is one of those players that, to me, he's a guy that has that upside. He was really not utilized a ton, but he doesn't utilize the right way, and he was just in a bad offense. But this is a guy that, truthfully, to me, I mean, he could be used all over the field. He's going to be a really fun player. He's more of a system dependent player, though. He's going to need to be go to a team that's going to utilize him the right way. Then you have Colson Loveland. A lot of talk between Loveland and Tyler Warren. Loveland goes at the 201 here. And, a lot of talk lately with Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland and who's the better player at this point. It's sometimes people are becoming more split as we get closer to the draft. Guys start to, there's usually a top dog, and then guys start to kind of creep up closer as people either start to or get bored, create new narratives, or they just maybe dig into the tape a little bit more. I still have Tyler Warren ahead of Loveland. Then Ollie Gordon and Devin Neal go to my I really like these two guys here. Ollie Gordon was the best running back in the college football in 2023. Had a down year last year. Then you have Neal. I like Neal as well. I think he's a guy that can come out and do a lot of different things. He lined up in the slot, top 10 when it comes to running backs this season. Then you have Bond, and then you have Golden. I am now up. I am fading Jalen Milroe unless he goes to some really crazy situation. Here for me, this is really, really easy. It's going to be Trey Harris. Now, Trey Harris is getting a lot of talk lately, wide receiver, and this is just a guy who, lately, 6'3", 210, out of Ole Miss, a really fluid route runner for his size at 6'3". Guys are starting to really fall in love with the tape with him. I've seen some guys that have him, as their wide receiver too, behind Tet McMillan. So honestly, I really think it's going to be interesting to see where Harris goes. I wouldn't have taken Bond. I like Bond, but I probably would have had Harris and Golden ahead of Bond. And I actually like the Dart pick here. That's Coach. If you watch the FF Mediators here, they help out with us. But, I really like Dart. I think he could be a sneaky play. Harold Fanning goes after him. When you're talking about home run hitters, he's about as big of a home run hitter as it gets. At the tight end position, this dude, he's a little bit undersized, a little bit undersized weight wise. Maybe he can put on a little bit of pounds, but overall, Fanning could be, if Fanning can, if teams can utilize him, he's more of like a move tight end, right? He's not the best blocker. He wasn't used in pass pro a ton, used more of a run blocker if he was asked. But he's a guy that kind of more of like a move tight end. And honestly, if utilized correctly, he could be, the best tight end in fantasy out of this class. And this is a really good class. So I think Fannin there as the third tight end is definitely fair. Kyle McCord. Now, Kyle McCord had some of the best throws on tape that I've seen when breaking down this quarterback class, to be honest with you. Kyle McCord out of Syracuse, he reminds me a little bit of Baker Mayfield, size wise, stylistically. I like what I've seen from Kyle McCord. He could be an interesting player that goes, maybe in early day 3 to a team like maybe the Saints take a swing on another guy, and they took Rattler last year. Maybe they take a swing on McCord. Dylan Sampson's a good pick here at the 210. After that, to me, when I look at Dylan Sampson, the sample size isn't as high or as large, which does worry me a little bit. When I look at Dylan Sampson, I have him as number 9 out of my running backs. He was the SEC rushing leader in 2024, 9 rushing touchdowns in his first 3 games, which is electric. But yeah, this is a guy, he's got elite breakaway speed. 4.35 is what they're projecting his 40-yard dash to be. So I like Sampson. I just, I'm not in love with him. I worry that the sample size maybe isn't big enough. I'm not really in love with the Milroe pick there at 211. I don't really expect, I'm not going to lie, Milroe's going to really need to go to a team that's going to let him sit and develop. I'm not really in love with him. I really do like the Restrepo pick here at the 212. This is probably the best route runner in this class out of Miami. So that's a really nice pick from Vita Jackson there. I mean, Restrepo could be, the steal of this class, in my opinion, at the wide receiver position. He's going to be a guy that's going to stick around in this league a while with his route running ability. You have Jaden Higgins, one of my favorites as well. I have him ranked higher than Restrepo. I actually have Jaden Higgins as my number 5 wide receiver in this class. Tez Johnson goes after, little undersized, fast, quick guy. Going to be interesting to see if he can get off of press. Scattaboo, again, this is a guy that people are kind of forgetting about because he's not super sexy. Really good pass blocker as well as a good pass catcher. Then you have, I don't want to butcher the name here, but you have the kid out of Stanford, Alec Ayomanor. I'm not super high on him, honestly. I don't have much to say on him. I do like RJ Harvey there at the 3.5. I think he reminds me of Bucky Irving here. At this point, it's really between Royals and Damian Martinez. I'm going to take Martinez. Martinez is an interesting player. He's going to be a guy that I think has a chance to go ahead of RJ Harvey and Scattaboo in this class. I wouldn't even be surprised if he goes ahead of Sampson. He's starting to get a little bit more buzz as we start to get a little bit closer. I think Martinez could test really well this week and start hearing a little bit more chatter around him. You have Arroyo after that. I think at this point in the 3rd round is where I love taking tight ends. Just love taking tight ends in the 3rd round because to me, like, it's a slow developing position. If you have deep benches, like Arroyo is an awesome dart throw at the 3.7. Based on his skill set, he is again kind of similar to Fannin. Like he ran faster than Xavier Worthy. His Xavier Worthy's top speed last year was not as fast as Arroyo. Problem with Arroyo is again not a ton of how I would say, not a ton of tape on him. He was injured, dealt with some injuries, right? It wasn't, it's just the Senior Bowl really boosted his stock. He had a really good Senior Bowl. Royals had a good Senior Bowl as well. Him and Higgins, same school. Obviously, can't forget Betch. People are kind of giving the comp of Puka Nacua to Betch. I like him. I'm starting to come around on him a little bit more. He's not flashy. Kind of reminds me a little Eric Decker. I know he's white. It's kind of that comp, right? Easy comp, but they just kind of remind me similar on skill set wise. This is Savion Williams, right? Savion Williams. Yeah, he's had some drop issues. Really, really big receiver. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Laviska Shenault. Now, Graffiti said Nova hates my picks. I actually don't. I happen to love Neil. And I like Tet McMillan, right? We might get our first auto draft here, which is fine. Getting to the 311 haven't had an auto draft the entire time. Pretty good. All these are live owners here, some content creators, just some other just junkies that are sitting here drafting on a Tuesday night, a Wednesday night, actually, a Wednesday night. But yeah, I mean, I actually, I like Scadaboo's my least favorite pick out of the three there, to be honest with you, Graffiti. Yeah, I see you. It's not that I actually think Scadaboo can stick in the league longer than Martinez, but I think Martinez has more upside. Scadaboo's going to be weird, man. I think there's a team that's has a chance to really fall in love with this guy. And he could be really good. Giddens is a guy that people keep telling me more and more about. This class is so unbelievably stacked at running back that honestly, like these things are going to change. A lot of it's going to do with landing spot, but people are going to tout, it's always about, draft capital, right? Draft capital. But with how stacked this class is at running back, teams may push out and kick the can down the road because they like a ton of running back. So a guy might get drafted in the 4th round, but I mean, he may have like a late 2nd round grade. That's how good this freaking class is, man. And so I think it's just one of those things where draft capital may not be as big of a factor for these later guys. Now, the top end guys, Genty, Hampton, Henderson, Caleb Johnson, those guys that go 1st and 2nd round, yes. But, people will tell you, I'm willing to take flyers on guys, even that 4th, 5th round range, because to me, there's going to be a lot of kicking the can down because teams love a lot of these guys in this class. So we're moving on to the 4th round and the last round. Horton out of Colorado gets taken here. You have Quinn Ewers here at 2 quarterbacks here in the super flex. Not a bad strategy. Ewers was dealing with a torn oblique that just came out today. Interesting news. Honestly, didn't look like himself when he got hurt. Now we kind of know a little bit more. Tootin, I do like Tootin as well. Not in my top 10, but at this point, nobody left on the board is my top 10. So you just kind of have to go with guys that you really like at this point. Gadsden, I would have taken Taylor, I think. No, I mean, I like Gadsden. I think, yeah, I prefer the kid out of Oregon over Gadsden, and Graffiti's gonna kick me because he thinks I'm shitting on his picks. I like Mason Taylor a lot, so that's probably why the bias is. Kid out of LSU, a true freshman starter, and I love swinging on tight ends here, so I was kind of sniped by both of you. I'm going to go with Gunnar Helm here. It's not going to be the sexy pick. It's not going to be a guy that everybody likes. If I wasn't going to go Gunnar Helm, I probably would have went with Woody Marks or Ricky White here. I know Jamie had shouted out Ricky White down here as well. I really do like Ricky White as well, but to me, I just like going with tight ends. Gunnar Helm is a guy that can block. I think he's going to stick in the league. Maybe not as much upside, but tight ends are hard to find, and so I don't mind swinging on tight end here and grabbing Helm. Rashad Smith goes converted wide receiver running back. Going to be interesting to see if he can run between the tackles in the NFL. I actually have Rashad Smith as my number 10th running back. Now, Graffiti, you take Hampton. I like Hampton. It's going to be subjective. I like Henderson more than Hampton. I think Hampton's number 4 for me. It's Genty, Caleb Johnson, Hampton, and Henderson for me. But again, if Hampton goes to the Chargers in the 1st round, I mean, that changes everything, man. And so I like Bond. I'm actually a Texas fan, to be honest with you. He's a guy that I think has a lot of home run upside ability. Going to be interesting. I'm struggling with the comp on him because there's somebody that's sticking in my head, but I just can't think of who exactly it is. Maybe like Calvin Ridley a little bit. I have to really think about that one. But Amon or Ellick from Stanford. A lot of people like his profile. And so I don't think it's a bad pick either. Now, pretty much looking at the board here, if I had to take a look, pretty standard, not a ton of reaches here, in my opinion. Travis Hunter may be looked at as a reach, but we just don't really know. He could also be an insane value at the 111 at this point. I think Trey Harris, not to toot my own horn, I think getting him at the 2.6 is an extremely good value. I think depending on how Fannin tests, we could see him slide up closer to 2.4. I think RJ Harvey is also a guy that I could see probably sneaking into the back end of the second round. I don't like the Jalen Milroe pick in the second round. I like Restrepo. I think that's good value at the 212 as well. But overall, I mean, I think this was a pretty good mock draft. We are going to be here on Saturday. Me and Matt are going to draft live after the testing is done for the quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receiver skill positions. So we're going to do a draft live, and then we might also do something else on Saturday, an NFL mock draft, not actually a fantasy rookie mock draft. So stay tuned for that. And then we do have another live show coming up in 20 to 30 minutes. It's going to be Anthony and Hoff. They're going to break down the latest combine news as well as NFL rumors as well. So stick around for that, guys. I do appreciate you guys jumping on. It's been a while. We got 12 people here on YouTube. It's good to be back, guys. I am fired up. Combine. This is when the NFL season gets great because, you start getting hope about your teams. You start getting excited about landing spots for certain players, and it's going to be a ton of fun. If you want, I'm going to zoom in here one more time to give you another snapshot of the big board here. I think that gives you a little bit of a closer view. I probably should have done that to begin with, but overall, a really, really nice draft. If you want to draft with us, let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. I know some guys that drafted with us were from Twitter, and then some of the other guys in our community. But all in all, man, I think this was a good draft. So stay tuned, stick around. In another 30 minutes, Hoff and Anthony are going live, and then we will be live on Saturday and Sunday to recap the combine and do some more drafts. But until next time, thank you guys for tuning in, and